All right, we should be up and live on YouTube and live in the Discord. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another week's reading of scripts. So last week, this is our third cycle. Last week, we outlined a story idea based on suggestions I was taking from the YouTube chat, and we constructed this outline. Let me pull that outline up. This time it was like this firefighter outline. And I have already checked the email, and we have two scripts to read for today. Yeah, here we go. The firefighter arsonist idea. This was our idea. So welcome in, everybody, as we get rolling here. Last week, we worked on this firefighter arsonist idea. Let me show you my screen. So this was our idea that we worked on. We built these characters, our firefighter, our arsonist, our corrupt sheriff. We also had some other ideas about other fireman characters, these kinds of things. And then we built out a scene-to-scene outline of this story. I then shared this scene-to-scene outline with the viewers of the stream, and they submitted their drafts to this email address. Whoops. readingscriptslive@gmail.com. So this has been our flow for the last few weeks. I know before I have done like just open reads, but I think it is so valuable for us to be making fresh projects now, right? I don't really want to read your ideas from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I'm much more interested in what are we doing today here in 2024, November 2024. What are we writing? What are we working on? So last week we worked on this outline. This was a story about our firefighter versus the arsonist. And so just to go back through this outline again to start, let me do this here, go live, cool. I'm gonna run through the scene-to-scene outline once again, and then I see in the email that we have two scripts written from Jesse and my main man, Anuman, who has written every single prompt so far. He has written something. So shout out to you. That is excellent. And then we have a first from Jesse, which should be fun as well. So let's go ahead and go through this outline again, just to give a sense of where we were at. Hello, Black Girl writes in the chat. You can submit a script to readingscriptslive@gmail.com when we do new outlines. Yes, CJ, my first name is Jacob. And it's always been that way. I've always gone by my middle name, but I think my first name has genuine importance to it that I have not been conscious of. And so, it is my first name. So let's go through this scene-to-scene outline here. This is what we worked on from last week. And I shouldn't cover anything, I don't think, but we'll do like that. Cool. Okay, so here was our story that we left off on. So first, character status quo. We had our main character, firefighter. So the idea that there was a news report. Dozens of structural fires have happened all around this town, scaring the townsfolk. The sheriff, who appears on the news, believes this is the act of one crazed psychopath that he is going to bring to justice. At a family gathering like a barbecue, the firefighter with his family and extended family watch the news report and comment on it. Here we meet the arsonist stepbrother, which is how we had it before, and we don't know that this is going to be that character yet. This is also something we talked a lot about, which is setting up a signature of the stepbrother here, like a Zippo lighter or something that we can connect to him later. and some ideas about dialogue for that scene, introducing that character. Then the next scene, the firefighter visits his pothead nephew in jail. And this was a character that I thought would fit nicely in this kind of position where they look like they're the bad guy here, right? We've got, this inmate and the arsonist. They're on this criminal side, but he also isn't, there's a clear difference between these two characters. And that's why this character helps to create some of that gray area, right? So the corrupt sheriff is a gray area. He's on the side of good, but is evil, right? So he becomes this gray. Same thing on the other side. And then these become our clear two sides of conflict, right? This is the clear and obvious, and this is where it gets grayer, right? A little bit harder to see who's who. So we visit that character in jail, tries to give him a talking to, and this is also where the firefighter's main viewpoint could come forward, that the nephew needs to follow the rules and that he made a mistake. He needs to learn his lesson, this kind of thing. So the goal, our firefighter wants to stop the local arsonist. Firefighters and the sheriff/police gather to discuss taking this arsonist down. And so they're kind of talking about what the plan will be to stop him. New problem, a new fire starts up. Firemen rush to the scene, they put out the fire, and while going through the debris, our fireman finds something that reminds him of the conversation he had with his stepbrother in the beginning of the story. Like a physical object, something left behind, a Zippo lighter. This was the other idea that was talked about a lot on that live stream. Like, how could you make it more subtle than like a Zippo lighter? Because that's very obvious. So you could go more obvious with that physical object, with that physical connection to that other important character, or you could go a little bit more nuanced where you need a keener eye to see what's going on. And this is just about the clarity of your story. How clear are you being with the audience? Because that level of clarity is going to be important for how easily you are communicating to the people watching that story or reading that story. Some other ideas we played with. And then the first big choice, our 4, the firefighter finds out it is his stepbrother and confronts him. This character fights back. The arsonist tells him that the sheriff is actually behind the burnings. And this is where we went back into the connection with our nephew who's in jail. Because the firefighter learns where the corrupt sheriff has been hiding, that he is protecting and profiting off of We Labs, which is the same thing that the sheriff put away the nephew character for, showing his hypocrisy, right? So then within the first 4 beats of this story, the goal was to give you this entire character web and understand their entire dynamic so that you could then go into a climax. So then goal achieved, the firefighter now knows who caused the fires and he wants to get necessary evidence to convict his stepbrother arsonist. So now he's at the station conflicted. This is where we talked about maybe this other scene, another fireman speaks to him like an ally character. Maybe they have a heart-to-heart about what's going on here. We'll see if that plays. And then surprise problem, the stepbrother texts or calls the firefighter, gives him an address, letting him know the next fire will be. I don't know if I love that, but we'll see. The firefighter wants to go, but the sheriff is halting them. So that's kind of the bigger piece here, right? He doesn't want growers and the dealers discovered. The sheriff stops him, which confuses the firefighter and sets off his internal alarm bells. Maybe my brother is right. 7, climactic choice. Firefighter chooses to go to the building anyways, disobeying the sheriff. This is why this is a climactic choice, right? By a change in the relationship he has with this character here, he is showing a change in his character, right? So this is why you need multiple characters. You need to understand how to use a character web and how to play characters off of each other like this, because that will show you changes in character belief, depending on what is their connection to the characters that are around them. Firefighter disobeys the sheriff, goes to the building, finds the growers, calls it in, and so then we had final character change. The firefighter sets the building on fire. And that was the end. So, we shall see how it goes. John Boy is also saying, Tyler, I sent you a script, but I don't think you've got it. Let me see, John Boy. I'm not seeing anything else in the email, but since you're in the Discord, if you want to literally link it in this chat, like drop in this chat here, I will add it to the queue for sure if you wrote one. But I need it. It's not coming up in my email. Oh, wait. Hold on. I have a spam email. I'm attaching my firefighter story submissions. Is this you? John Meredith? Okay. I bet this is you. Not spam. Excellent. Okay, sweet. Awesome, John Boy. I do have it. It is in my email. We have 3 scripts to read. Excellent. All right. Let's go with this one first. We're going to start with Jesse's. By the way, give me a thumbs up in the chat if everything is good audio-wise before we start getting deep into these reads. Because once we start really getting into these reads, we will be in the swing of things here. So let me know if we're all good there. And I will get these ready to read. Anuman's changing things again, according to his email. Don't love that. Might be angry. We'll see. Sounds all good. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. All right. Let's get into it then. So this is from Jesse. I love the last name. Is that your actual last name? Because if so, that's that's tough. 20 pages, or it looks like 18. So this should be a good, nice length here. Let's read it. Exterior, city skyline, night. The night sky is blotted out by smoke as an apartment building burns. Exterior, burning apartment building, night. Boom! An explosion erupts from the side of a second-story window. Rubble careens to the ground as injured and scared civilians panic. EMTs work tirelessly to resuscitate burn victims as firefighters pull people out and battle the blaze. Captain Marsden, 40s, shouts orders at the other firefighters. It's coming down! We need everyone out of there! A firefighter, Daniel, 40s, rushes a limping elderly man, singed in smoke and second-degree burns towards the EMTs. He keeps his face list with a warm smile the entire time. You're going to be all right. These people are going to take care of you. That's everyone. Bianca, 30s, desperately pushes past the barricaded perimeter of the building. Mick, 40s, halts her approach. You can't be here. It's not safe. My daughter, Celia, she's still in there. It's suicide, Captain. Please. Something else takes over Daniel as he races into the building. Daniel! Interior, burning apartment building, living room continuous. Daniel hacks his way into the death cloud, smothering the room like a man with everything to lose. He keeps low, pressing forward, but the suffocating smog and starving flames battle against him at every turn. Celia? Celia! He surveys his surroundings and coughs up a lung from the smoke, looks up and dives back as ceiling tiles crash down onto where he just was. He makes it to his feet when, boom, an explosion from the wall behind drops him, ringing. Everything slows down, only breathing. And then, cutting through, Mommy! Teeth clench and eyes focus as Daniel launches himself forward. Bedroom. Daniel rounds the corner to find Celia trembling underneath the bed, coughing. Take my hand. She shakes her head, paralyzed with fear. Celia. It was Celia, right? He takes off his helmet, revealing his face. I'm Daniel. Do you know what this is? Helmet. The ceiling starts to give in. The room is coming apart. Helmet. Good. I need you to be really brave and put it on. Can you do that for me? Celia hesitates. She nods before coughing. Daniel pulls her out of the bed just as it collapses. Daniel picks her up and holds her close as she fits on the helmet. Corridor. Daniel rockets forward, but the floor may as well be quicksand as it collapses all around him. Celia's coughing gets worse. Hold on, Celia. Then he finds it, the exit, collapsing in on itself. He bolts forward with determination. Exterior, burning apartment building, night. A tense silence strangles the onlooking firefighters and pedestrians. Look, Daniel emerges from the wreckage holding Celia to applause and fanfare. Crazy son of a bitch. My baby. Daniel hands Celia over to Bianca. Came in close, but I got her. McPats Daniel on the back. I gotta buy you a beer after this. Celia, hey Celia, hey, wake up. She's not moving. Celia's eyes are open, but behind them there is no life. Bianca weeps. Daniel looks onto the dead child's face, shocked and mortified. Daniel turns to the fire, the charred remains of the building burning in the reflection of his eyes. Interesting. Black. Exterior, Daniel's home, backyard, day. The fires of a grill spark, cooking a selection of patties and sausages. It's a sunny day and the backyard is ready for a barbecue. Super, 4 weeks later. Ted, 14, flips a patty as Janet, 40s, watches him from a lawn chair. Meats are looking good. Daniel. Janet looks over to see Daniel inside, alone. Interior, Daniel's home, living room continuous. Daniel pensively watches footage of a news anchor. Last night's chemical fire has led authorities to uncover a meth lab operating entirely in secret underneath a populated residential building. Prior to the fire, witnesses report hearing of an explosion, leading to some believe it may have been the work of the still-at-large Arthur Bay arsonist. Off Arthur Bay arsonist, the news shows a shadowy, hooded man with a question mark for a face. My parents are here in 10 minutes, so I need you to freshen up. The footage cuts to people in hoods marching in the street, holding signs. Burn where the law can't. Bring it to light. You promised you'd leave this at work. Daniel's eyes remain fixed to the TV. In recent weeks, the controversial figure has grown in popularity due to a number of crimes that have been exposed as a direct result of the fires. Some may recall that one of these fires had undercover similar criminal activity only 4 weeks earlier. The TV shows the same building Daniel was inside of on fire. You promised. Will you give it a minute? She freezes up. He turns the TV back on. The news is interviewing I'm just glad someone's taking action. Feels like every day this stuff happens and no one does anything about it. Sheriff Willis, 50s, speaks in front of the press. Anyone who wants to enforce justice can do so by wearing a badge and following the law. This pyromaniac is nothing but a terrorist and one that will be brought to justice. No more questions. They talking about that arsonist guy? I heard he burnt down a dogfighting ring. Ted, go cook the meats. Meats are done, no thanks to you. Ted tosses a burger patty onto the table. Flashes of Celia covered in burns, her face staring at him. Daniel jolts out of his chair, knocking the patty to the ground. Are you okay? Yeah. Daniel gets startled by his pager going off. Pager? That's interesting. Is this 1992? Janet gently takes his hand. Stay. I can't. He leaves. Exterior destroyed. We're 8 pages in, or no, more like 6. Okay, 6 is probably decent. Exterior destroyed building, day. Firefighters, EMTs, and police finish clearing the remains of the wreckage. The fries have already faded. Say what you want about this arsonist guy. He works pretty fast. Daniel frantically digs through the rubble. Come on, man. Just leave it to the cops, all right? Daniel holds something in his hands, a Zippo lighter. Wiping away the dust uncovers an emblem of a burning eye. Daniel flicks it open. At least we know he smokes. Sheriff Willis shouts at the other cops on the scene, demanding attention. Daniel approaches. I said I don't want any cameras. Where the hell is my perimeter? I want this entire fucking block cordoned off yesterday. Maybe this will help? Daniel shows the sheriff the lighter. He seems intrigued. I think it could be the arsonists. Maybe you should see if it belonged to anyone in the building. We'll handle it. Sheriff pockets the lighter. Can I do anything else to help? Help me by doing your job. Sheriff pats Daniel on the shoulder and walks off. Interior, Daniel's home, corridor, night. The house is stark and silent as Daniel steps inside. He eyes the stairs leading to his bedroom for a moment and, in the living room, sits on the couch in front of the TV. Puts on the news where Sheriff Willis talks to the press about the arsonist. She stands in the doorway. Who? Months. We've been planning this for months, and you go off and you're not here. You're never here. We don't have any information on the arsonist. Okay. That's all good. I'll keep reading. We don't have any information on the arsonist's identity yet. What? Where's the lighter? I am here. Oh, No, you're... Oh, I see what you're doing. What? Where's the lighter to the sheriff and then to her? I am here. No, you're off trying to catch some criminal, and he will be caught. You're missing what's important. That's fun. Important? A matter of national security. You don't think saving lives is important? That's not what I meant. Well, it's easy to put words in other people's mouths. Of course it isn't. It's not what anyone means. And what does that mean? It feels like I'm the only one who do anything about this. This scene is almost cool. But it ends up kind of being bad. Okay, smash. He accidentally bats the computer to the floor, shattering its silence. Ding dong. Janet and Daniel look at each other, perplexed. Ted screams from the other room. Daniel and Janet rush to the noise. Entryway. Daniel and Janet see Ted play wrestling with Chris, 40s, wearing a black jacket. Keep this up, Ted. They're going to have to put you up against the older kids. Chris, oh my God. Easy, Jan. You're going to make my brother jealous. Daniel embraces him. It's good to see you again. Exterior, Daniel's home, backyard, night. Daniel and Chris belt out laughter while sitting on deck chairs. And he comes running out, bare-ass naked. I swear they'll let you get away with anything over there. Long as you salute the flag. Chris cracks open a beer. It's funny you show up. Feels like all anyone's talking about these last few months is that war. That's how it is, man. A few celebs start bringing it up, and then it's all anyone wants to talk about. He puts down the beer. I heard your shouting match from my car. Everything all right with you and Jan? I've been taking extra shifts at work. The arsonist, right? Do they have any leads? Not yet. I get she's worried, but if I don't go after him, who will? Chris considers his words for a moment. You're obsessed. That's a good thing. Most people go their whole lives not caring about anything really important. Men like us, we can't help fighting for it. Chris fits a cigarette in his mouth. Mind if I light up? Daniel nods as Chris draws a Zippo lighter with an insignia of a burning eye. Daniel immediately takes notice. Good. Flashes, burning bodies, crumbling buildings. Cilia. Chris takes a puff. I didn't know you smoked. Took it up on tour. Chris looks at his watch. I gotta go. I'm gonna be in town for a while. We should catch up real soon. Chris offers to shake Daniel's hand. Daniel glares, but does so. Sure. Chris puts out a cigarette. Interior, living room, night. Daniel watches Chris's black Jeep drive off from the window. Daniel grabs his car keys. Exterior, warehouse, night. The moonlight illuminates Chris's car with a tense glow as he approaches the building. He spies Chris's car, parked, but finds no sign of the man. They are isolated. Interior car continuous. Daniel reaches into the glove compartment to find a gun. He considers it for a moment. He takes it and steps out of the car. Interior, warehouse, night. Shattered glass crackles beneath Daniel's feet as he enters through a broken window. Staying low, he finds himself in a maze of smashed beakers and half-broken shelves. There was a struggle here. Daniel picks up a faint, muffled groan. He stalks unseen towards the sight of man, women, and teenagers, gagged and bound, each strapped to a high-tech explosive with chains. Daniel goes white, steps forward, pulls back. A figure steps forward. A well-built man wearing a jacket and ski mask texts into a disposable phone. He is the arsonist. To the hostages, it'll all be over soon. He breaks the phone. Daniel reaches for his gun when the doors off the warehouse slide open to reveal an armed Sheriff Willis approaching. Some mess. Daniel perks up. Why is the sheriff here? Sheriff, you made it. Sheriff Willis trains his pistol on the arsonist. The arsonist holds his jacket open, revealing himself to be holding a detonation trigger. Let's not blow this out of proportion. I like it taking directly from, okay, we wouldn't want your 5 other pet projects blasted over tomorrow's morning news. Arsonist gestures for Sheriff's gun. Sheriff reluctantly tosses it over. Arsonist moves Sheriff to the center of the room and restrains him to a seat in front of a table. Daniel shuffles behind the shelves toward them. Comfy? Sheriff says nothing as he struggles to free himself from his seat. Arsonist reaches into a duffel bag on one of the shelves. You want money? Name your price. Okay, what is this about? I could throw your money in the wash and it'd still be too dirty to spend. No, what I want, the arsonist places a camera pointed at the sheriff onto the table, is for you to do your job. Daniel reaches the hostages, holds his finger to his mouth. He sees the restraints, chains. Daniel desperately tries to pry them free. No use. A boy, no older than 15, looks to Daniel with fear in his eyes. People too weak to protect themselves entrusted you to do it, but when they gave you a badge to serve them, you chose to serve yourself. Is there a point to this lecture? Why, yes, there is, Leslie. Today you are going to get to redeem yourself by revealing your crimes and the crimes of the other thieves on your payroll to the world. Daniel searches the shelves frantically. The arsonist slides over a piece of paper with names and offenses. You're joking. The press will slaughter me. You can die a long death in prison or a quick sentence here. Your choice. Arsonist hits record on the camera. Daniel keeps searching until he finds bolt cutters. He pulls them down but knocks a beaker onto the floor. Smash! The arsonist turns to see the noise as the sheriff starts to read off the list. Keep reading. He moves swiftly towards the noise. Daniel shifts his way past the shelves back to the hostages. The arsonist readies the sheriff's gun. Daniel moves forward when smash! He's pinned by a shelf kicked over by the arsonist. Daniel frees himself and they both aim their guns. Standoff. Daniel gets to his feet. Take off the mask. The arsonist pulls off his ski mask, revealing himself to be... I didn't want you to see this. Daniel's eyes tear up with a vicious rage. Flashes, burning, Celia, all flooding into his mind, overwhelming him. You killed a kid. But Chris's eyes show no remorse. Why? Exterior desert village day. Then... Chris, in an army uniform, marches through the streets of a poor village when, boom, an explosion erupts from the side of a building, blowing him back. As the smoke clears, Chris sits up, face half burnt, surrounded by scorched bodies. He looks forward to see a burning building. As he stands, he is mesmerized by it. Interior warehouse night, because nobody changes anything until the world forces them to. That's not true. Isn't it? I'm here because people do nothing about the corruption of the law. You're here to take me in now because of what I did. People wear those masks, parade around the streets because I showed them the truth. The kids, they're complicit just like everyone else. That's murder. That's war. Colonel Kurtz, I'm done. Chris strafes over to the camera, never taking his eyes off Daniel. He picks it up and pulls out a USB attached to it. Then Sheriff Wilson frees himself of his restraints and slams Chris's head against the table, tearing the trigger from his hand. Daniel targets Sheriff, who blocks him with Chris in a headlock, gun drawn to his temple. Let him go. We can bring him in together. After everything he knows, that's not going to happen. You're going to drop the gun and let me leave before I bury you inside. The sheriff sees something in Daniel. He smirks. I thought I recognized you. You're that hose jockey that lost the little girl. Such a shame that, and this son of a bitch is responsible. He lines Daniel up for a clean shot on Chris. Make him pay for everything he's done, and I can make sure you get off scot-free. Long as you never say anything, of course. I would cut this piece. Daniel eyes Chris with an intensity, the rage inside of him building. More flashes, burning children, body Celia. Ah! Bang! Daniel fires. The bullet whizzes past Sheriff, hitting a spark plug that erupts into flames. Boom! The Sheriff and Chris are blown back by an explosion. Flames start to spread through the lab. Daniel clears his vision, sees the Sheriff and Chris, but he turns to the hostages tied up, flames growing closer to the explosives. One of them tied up is Celia. He throws away the gun and rushes toward them, drawing the pliers in his hand. Sheriff pulls away as Chris grabs him, holds him down. We go together. Sheriff smacks Chris unconscious. Daniel cuts the last of the chains with the cutters and rushes the hostages outside. He looks back to see Sheriff running for the camera. Wait! Daniel takes cover as the flames hit a bomb underneath the table. It erupts, incinerating the sheriff. The smoke reveals Chris, unconscious and on the floor. Daniel wraps his arms around him and hobbles out of the building. Exterior warehouse continuous. The hostages watch from a distance as Daniel emerges from the building with Chris, just as a blast destroying the warehouse knocks them both forward. Daniel's ears ring as he turns to Chris, rage taking hold. Daniel gets on top of Chris and starts pummeling him, drawing blood and knocking out teeth. Ah! He holds back another blow, eyes welling up with tears. You killed them. You killed them. You! He grits his teeth, every instinct fighting against him. You don't get to kill who I am. I don't know about that one, bro. As he helps Chris to his feet, sirens in the distance sound and police cruisers draw nearer. Chris topples forward into Daniel's arms. The two brothers embrace. Chris whispers something into Daniel's ear. He slides something into his hand. What's with the somethings? Police cruisers swarm the area and surround the group. Police, put your hands on your head. Chris lets go of Daniel and stands in front of him when, bang, a bullet shreds through him. Daniel watches his brother's body fall lifeless to the ground. The world falls still until a gun is placed to the back of his head by an officer. Daniel closes his eyes, accepting his fate, when the screech of a fire truck draws all eyes as firefighters quickly burst onto the scene. Mick gets the attention of the officer. He's with us. The officer looks at Daniel. Daniel pulls out his pager. The officer lowers his gun and goes to check on the hostages as the firefighters work to overcome the fire. What the hell happened here? Daniel looks to Chris, unresponsive. Then in his hand, a USB. I saved someone. Interior Daniel's home, living room, day. The TV plays the news on mute. Sheriff Willis and the shots of the warehouse. Shocking evidence of police corruption and arsonist's identity revealed. Janet makes coffee as she watches the news story unfold. Daniel wraps his arms around her and they embrace, staring out into the backyard together. They move toward it holding hands. Daniel takes hold of the door and sees Celia sitting on the couch watching the news. She looks at Daniel and waves at him. He waves back, closes the door. Roll credits. Excellent work, Jesse. $18 pages, too. There's a couple little things I know I touched on, and I would, maybe do an adverb pass. But I really like what you did here, dude. I like the silly. I like this character a lot. This is such a good ad. I think that might be my favorite addition here that I didn't have at all in the outline, which is this girl who dies in the beginning. That really, really made, I think it really tied it together nicely. Really solid kind of emotional point there. Really nice work. Yeah, excellent work. JC the Jester, loved it. Mr. Watermeal, great work. Yeah, I think that one rules. Good work, Jesse. Yeah. That's really solid. Ember's Reign. Yeah, genuinely don't have big picture notes for that. Very strong. Yes, Josh, we ended up going with your arson idea. Yep. You gave us the seed and then bounced. And this is what we've got now. So this one, very good. Is it a good idea to do ratings on these scripts? I mean, this one is great. I love this one. You get all the points. 100 points. Well, that one is a great one to start with today. So we will see how Johnny Saxton can do. I'm going to go grab some water, and then we can settle in for Johnny's script here. I will be right back. Yeah, no, this one is good. I think I think he used the web in a nice way. Characters felt good. It really worked. This really worked, which is so excellent to see. Like you can do one pretty quick if you know what to do, and it helps to have an outline, right? Like if you can really nail. This is why I really do like using like a framework and understanding. If you can kind of nail what's going on here, and you can nail a story circle, and you can nail like just a big picture black and white conflict, like you can. And here's Joshua's idea again. You can really take it pretty far, fast, and that can. So good work, Jesse. Clearly, you've done some writing before. This is not a first rodeo screenplay. So good work, sir. All right. Are y'all ready for Johnny Saxton, written by John Boy? Here we go. 23 pages. Exterior, open road, dawn. The straightest of roads is quiet and deserted and splits farmland as far as the eye can see. Its vanishing point is illuminated in a soft, flickering glow of fire. A fire truck screams past, throwing up roadside dust and spinning it in a vortex. Interior fire truck, dawn. Sirens wail. Half a dozen firefighters sit in silence, most casual, relaxed, just another day at the office. Meet Johnny Saxton, 40s, a tough-looking, serious guy whose face would crack if he smiled. He's checking that the straps are tightened on a young fireman's fire suit, preparing him, looking into his eyes and seeing his anxiety. You're good. You ready? Just stick next to me. Stop mothering him. You're going to do great, kid. Don't look so worried. The young firefighter's smile looks nervous and forced. Exterior farm buildings, dawn. A long line of shipping containers, some with open doors, burn violently. A timber barn next to them is also alight, thick smoke drifting around its base. The fire truck pulls up into position. The firefighters flow out, scurrying in a well-rehearsed drill. Johnny Saxton barks instructions. The young firefighter tries to hang by Johnny's side, but Johnny is all over the place, assessing, controlling, and directing. The other firefighters are already hosing the containers. Powerful jets of water hiss as they hit red-hot metal. Faint female screams of help emit from the barn. Only the young firefighter hears them. The others are too focused. Johnny, there's someone in there. Johnny doesn't hear. He's focused on the other guys. The screams for help come again. The young firefighter is torn and hesitant. Johnny! The barn is beginning to burn. One more scream of help sees the young firefighter rush into the barn. Johnny turns and sees the young firefighter has disappeared. Confused, he looks around for him. He sees him running from the barn, carrying a young woman. Lowering her, he goes back into the barn, and something inside explodes. Exterior farm buildings later. The fires are out. The barn is mostly destroyed. The containers blackened. Firefighters rake through smoldering embers. Johnny walks alongside a stretcher being guided by two paramedics. The young fireman looks bruised, blackened, and burnt. An oxygen mask sits snugly over his face. You're going to be fine, kid. Next time, do as I tell you. Sheriff Amos Brody, 60, approaches. Well, what do we got, Johnny? Looks like the anti-drug brigade have struck again. More marijuana? The biggest yet. Tons of it. It's all burnt? Johnny nods. The sheriff's eyes close slowly. This time they almost killed one of us. Is he going to be okay? Nice of you to ask. He'll be just fine, Sheriff. This goddamn arsonist. Find me some evidence in this mess, Johnny. Interior, Johnny's car, day, moving. Johnny's driving, tired and burnt out. The car radio reports. A firefighter was badly injured today while tackling another farm fire. It's one of a dozen fires in the Southport area believed to be connected. Pulling into his drive, Johnny turns the radio off. He sucks in a lungful, exhaling slowly, getting it together. Interior, Johnny's house, day. Johnny's family gather in front of the television, glued to the news. Exterior, main road near fire, day, on TV. A news reporter stands at the entrance to a farm. The smoldering remains of a barn can be seen over her shoulder. A police squad car and 2 policemen guard the entrance. A young firefighter almost lost his life earlier today dealing with what's suspected to be another marijuana farm fire. Is it the work of a lone arsonist terrorizing the town or gangs competing for territory? The guy who wrote this is a Brit. A large 4x4 police vehicle approaches from the farm. It's Sheriff Brody. The news reporter moves to his open window. Sheriff Brody, what can you tell us? Was this a marijuana farm? I don't know where you guys get your information. As far as we know, it's just a damn fire that damaged someone's livelihood. Interior, Johnny's house, day. Johnny enters. The group falls silent, holding Johnny's stare. Helen Saxton, 40s, moves to greet Johnny with a loving embrace. How is he, honey? He'll live. How is he, honey? He'll live. Hey, Mom. Bobby. Hey, we can do this another time. It's okay. You know him well? It was his first day. The room falls melancholy. Come on, let's do this. Have you lit the barbecue? Your brother's on it. You let him loose with the fire? All chuckle. The mood is lightened. Exterior, Johnny's garden, day. Thomas Fletcher stands at a barbecue pushing a poker through hot coals. In his other hand, a Zippo lighter. It's held open over the barbecue, the heat eventually igniting it. Thomas smiles eerily at the flame's majesty. He's absorbed, hypnotized in his own fiery world as Johnny approaches. That hot enough? Johnny, I don't know what to say. What happened? I don't know. One minute he was by my side, the next... Who is he? Does he have any family? A girlfriend and a 2-year-old. Jesus. Was it arson again? Looks that way. Self-storage units full of wacky. Do the police have any leads? Not really. Just that it's the same MO, except now somebody's hurt. I'm sorry, Johnny. But think of all the lives saved with that shit off the streets. You sound like you're for the burnings. This maniac needs stopping before someone is killed. Thomas grits his teeth and swallows hard. It's organized crime, isn't it? Must be. Maybe. You spoken to Paulie? What? Talking of organized crime? Of course I've spoken to him. He wouldn't be in prison if it wasn't for all this muck on the streets. It destroys lives, Johnny. And he wasn't involved in the growing order distribution, just caught smoking it. Your mate, our prestigious sheriff, is too focused on the wrong end of the chain. Happy to chuck my son in prison. How often do you hear of him busting the dealers? Arson's arson, Thomas. He can't have maniacs setting light to property, and now somebody's hurt. Yeah, and my son is in prison. He made a lifestyle choice, Thomas. Jesus, Johnny, he smoked a joint. It hardly makes him Pablo Escobar. They found a bale of it. He had it hidden. It was planted. It wasn't his, Johnny. I've told you that. He wasn't dealing. Whatever you say. Paulie asked after you. He always does. Will you go and see him? Helen, Bobby, and Johnny's mom appear carrying food and drink. You guys ready for food? Johnny, get those mozzie candles. Mozzie. Get those. Johnny, get those mozzie candles lit. The sun is going down. We'll be plagued. You guys ready for food? Johnny, get those mozzie... British. The Brits, you know? We'll be plagued. I need to work on my British accent, and then I'll reread the whole script in a perfect British accent. Johnny grabs a couple of tall mosquito candles on wooden canes and pushes them in the ground. Thomas, you got a light? Thomas reaches into his back pocket and gently throws his Zippo. Catching it, Johnny reads the inscription. Belmont, class of 99. You still in touch with these guys? Thomas shrugs, eager to return to the conversation. So will you? Visit him? I'm flat out, Thomas. Maybe. Please. Interior prison cell day. Paul Fletcher lies on his bed, bouncing a squash ball off the wall in front of him. The whole wall is marked with thousands of ball marks. The door to his cell is open. A prison guard appears. Fletcher, visitor. Paul catches the ball and gets up slowly. Interior visitor's room, prison day. The room is bare, cold, and scattered with orange-clad cons, each with loved ones. Several guards keep watch. Johnny sits alone at a table. A guard ushers Paul in. Johnny stands. Uncle Johnny. Johnny goes to embrace him. Sir, no touching. The two sit. How you been, Paulie? I'm okay. It's okay. Auntie Helen says hi. She couldn't make it? So 6 months left? Every day's a month. Fresh start when you get out. Paul's eyebrows raise. Put all this behind you, right? Honestly, the first thing I'm going to do, drive to some state it's allowed and roll me a big fat one. For God's sake, what's the matter with you? Have you learnt nothing? Calm down, Uncle Johnny, I'm joking. Are you? When I get out, I'm going to right some wrongs. What does that mean? It means I should never have been in here. Jesus, you talk like you're innocent. I was never dealing, I promise you. Interior Police HQ day. The police sheriff and several deputies huddle round a box of donuts. A woman interrupts them. Boss, fire department's here. Yeah, show him in. The fire chief, Johnny, and another 2 firefighters seen earlier in the fire truck stroll in. Chief, boys, I'm sorry about your man in the hospital. Thanks. Let's get these bastards. These? We think it's one man. How so? Eyewitnesses at 3 of the fires all say they saw one man. What about the girl we dragged from the barn? She saw nothing. In the middle of nowhere? No car? That's impossible. She saw nothing. Was she a grower? The shipping containers were loaded with packaged marijuana. The ones that were opened, anyway. Have you opened the other containers? What was in those? Private storage. We're tracking down the key holders, but it is going to take some time. Can't you get a court order? Our arsonist knew there were drugs there. Are the other containers full of drugs? Because if they are, he might go back. And if they're not, he had some pretty specific intel. You guys worry about finding some evidence at the scene. Me and my bros will do the detective work. Now, hold on, Sheriff. We were just trying to... The firefighters' pagers sound at once. Pagers again. Both of you guys talking about pagers is crazy. Do firefighters have pagers and not phones? Is that how that works? I don't even know. If so, good on you guys for doing research. At the same time, the woman rushes in. Sheriff, we got another one. The whole room jumps into action. Exterior fire station day. A fire truck rolls out, flashing blues and sirens screaming. Interior fire truck day. Johnny and his crew kit up on the move. Pretty useless meeting. Our sheriff knows something. Like what? Like those storing marijuana around our town. Exterior remote barn, out-of-town day. A semi-dirt track leads to a collection of timber barns. One of them burns furiously, too late to save. The fire truck thunders down the track. Interior fire truck day. Breathing apparatus, guys, unless you all want to get high. Exterior farm buildings day. The fire truck skids to a stop. The firefighters bail. It's quick, slick, and professional. A hose is rolled out, then another. They're both connected and with a loud shout turned on. Each hose quickly turning flaccid to rigid. The firefighters struggle against the power of the water jet, trying to knock them off their feet. The sheriff arrives with the entourage. Guy, this is great. Right, I'm loving the visual on the page, making those clear images. This is very excellent. Very, very good. Get the roads blocked within 5 miles. We can catch this maniac. And exterior farm buildings later. The fire's out. The smoldering remains barely represent a building at all. The firemen rake through the debris with the fire chief and the sheriff watching. Well, you guys found anything? Give them a chance. 2 firefighters still breathing apparatus rake through bundles of sodden marijuana bales, some still glowing at their center. They call for more water. Johnny crouches down at some tire tracks, studying them and photographing them with his phone. Something catches his eye, something reflecting the fire truck's flashing blues. Moving to a patch of thick grass, Johnny recovers a Zippo lighter. It's engraved, Belmont, class of 99. Exterior, Thomas's house, night. Johnny pulls onto the drive behind Thomas's car. Getting out, he checks Thomas's car tires and brings up a photo on his phone. They're identical to the tracks left at the fire. Johnny moves towards the house as Thomas steps outside, holding a bag of rubbish. Johnny, what can I do you for? Hey, Thomas, I wanted to let you know that I visited Paul. Oh, Johnny, that's great news. Thank you. It's great to see you, but you could have just called. Sorry, I was in the area. No, it's no problem. Can I get you anything? A beer? Looked like you could use a cold one. I wouldn't say no. You coming in? I'm good. Okay. Well, give me a second. Thomas disappears. Johnny sucks in the evening air, until moments later Thomas reappears with 2 bottles of Bud. Cheers. Back at you. This is nice. You got a smoke? Thomas reaches into his breast pocket for cigarettes. Thought you quit a long time ago. Just in the mood. You got a light? Thomas searches his pockets. Nothing. Johnny puts his beer down. I must have left it. Johnny reaches into his back pocket, pulls out the Zippo, and lights his smoke. Thomas's eyes widen and his lips part. Pretty rare, class of 99. Quick as a flash, Johnny chucks the smoke and grabs Thomas, pushing him hard against the wall of the house. You piece of shit. I got a good man in a hospital because of you. Johnny, wait, I can explain. I don't know whether to kick the shit out of you or let the sheriff do it. It is the sheriff. It's all the sheriff. What the hell are you talking about? Exterior, Thomas's house later. Johnny and Thomas sit sipping beer, backs against the house wall. So let me get this straight. Our sheriff is up to his eyeballs in marijuana and shipping it into the city. You got to be kidding me. On my life, Johnny, I'm not wrong. Now I really do need a smoke. I've been following him for months. It's coming in by the lorry load. Lorry load is awesome. The sheriff and his cronies, they're all in on it? I think so, but I've only followed Sheriff Brody. It comes in, they break it up, and scatter it around different hiding spots, usually isolated barns. I'm sorry about your young lad getting hurt. I really am. So you've been following the sheriff and the lads he's got working for him. Lads, local muscle, guys he's nicked, blackmailed into helping him. Do time or do work for me, sort of thing. Do time or do work for me, sort of thing. How do you know all this? When Paulie got caught smoking, the sheriff offered him a deal, work for him or go down for possession. Jesus. Paulie knew. Once he was involved, he'd never get out. So you started burning the sheriff's stash? Why didn't you come to me? What would you have done? Gone to the police? Messed up, ain't it? And the sheriff's too smart to get caught. What about the DEA? Yeah, one day I'm going to spill my guts to them. But as it stands, the sheriff's too smart. And who's going to believe the dad of a pothead? What are you going to do? I'm a firefighter. You're an arsonist. Whatever the reason, you've destroyed property and put someone in the hospital. You could have killed him. I don't know what I'm going to do. Interior bar. Night. Johnny sat at the bar, deep in thought, peeling the label off a bottle of beer. Firefighter number 1 walks in. Thanks for coming. Johnny gestures to the barman. One more beer. You okay? Johnny thinks hard before answering. I know who our arsonist is. Johnny reaches into his back pocket, pulling out the Zippo lighter. He puts it on the bar. Who's that? It belongs to my stepbrother. Firefighter 1 looks confused. What am I missing? 18 months ago, my nephew, his son, got nicked by our sheriff for smoking pot and possession. Yeah, I know. Damn stupid thing to do. What's that got to do with our sheriff is storing and distributing weed into the city? Get the fuck out of here. I don't know what to do. It's true. Okay, it's interesting. Well, we'll keep reading. But I don't know if this scene is necessary if this guy is only firefighter number 1. Because I get that, like, in the outline, we kind of have him, like, conflicted here. And we didn't really make a nice full character here. And so because of that, I feel like this character is weak. And so because of that, I feel like I'm hearing what I've already heard again. But you could make this more interesting by making this character a full character. Maybe somebody we see earlier and then comes back here, right? Like they're just They are non-specific all the way to their name right now. But let's keep reading. My dumbass stepbrother's been following him and burning his crop. Retribution for nicking his son. He's turned into some kind of vigilante. That's his lighter. I found it at the fire today. He started it and all the others. Jesus, Johnny, what are you going to do? I have no idea. That's why I called you. My head's scrambled. Ask the 23-year-old kid in the hospital, Johnny. Don't. Arson's arson, mate. Taking a lot of drugs off our streets. You sure the sheriff's involved? Sure as you're buying the next round. Firefighter 1 gives a 2-finger gesture to the barman. Holy shit. Thomas would have had him banged to rights if he'd only photographed him. 2 fresh bottles of beer land in front of them. Johnny looks over Firefighter 1's shoulder. His eyes pop. There he is. Who? Our sheriff. The sheriff stood in the doorway of the bar. He spots Johnny and makes his way over. Hey, you guys, can I get you a drink? Just got one. Thanks, Sheriff. I'm still waiting on the fire report. You guys found anything? Before Johnny can answer, his phone pings. Retrieving it, Johnny reads a message. I know where the next fire will be. What? How? Johnny shows the sheriff and Firefighter 1 the message. Call it in. Get a rig out there. Sheriff, I'll ride with you. All 3 rush from the bar. Interior, sheriff's 4x4, dusk. Johnny and the sheriff scream along out of town. The sheriff is texting covertly as he drives. His left hand hangs down between the driver's seat and his door. It doesn't go unnoticed to Johnny. You gonna get back up? Let's just see what we're facing. Your message may be a hoax. I think you should call it in. I want to see what we're dealing with. Why? This could be our chance. You deal with the fires, Johnny. I'll deal with the police work. The sheriff drives to the location. A large barn sits at the end of a dusty track. As they get closer, there's a pickup truck and 2 men, each with shotguns. Sheriff, look out. They're armed. The sheriff lifts his gun from its holster and points it at Johnny, bringing his truck to an abrupt stop. So it's true. I'm not the only one that knows your dirty secret. Exterior, deserted barn, dusk. The armed men open Johnny's door. Get out, Johnny. Holding his hands aloft, Johnny does as he's told. Any sign of the arsonist? The 2 men shake their heads. You got all the stuff loaded? Yes, boss. Lose it quickly. Take it somewhere safe. The fire department are on their way. What do we do with him? The sheriff nods at armed man number 2. He hits Johnny in the back with the butt of his shotgun. Johnny drops like a stone. Put him in the barn and burn it. Another hero firefighter running into a burning building. I did all I could to stop him. It's tragic. The 2 men drag a now dazed Johnny into the barn. The sheriff watches on as the 2 men reappear, nodding. It's done to the sheriff. Smoke begins to creep from the barn as the 2 armed men climb into their marijuana-laden truck. The sound of a distant fire truck getting ever closer panics the men. They speed off. The barn begins to burn. The sheriff is distracted by the sound of an approaching helicopter. As it gets closer and lower, a spotlight illuminates the sheriff. DEA, drop your weapon. The sheriff turns. His 2 gunmen are reaching the end of the track, almost at the highway, almost about to get away. He smiles to himself, a smug, I'm going to get away with this. 2 4x4 vehicles hard stop the 2 gunmen in their vehicle at the end of the track. The sheriff squints, dismayed, as armed DEA agents surround his men and his stash. The helicopter hovers, its downdraught swirling thick smoke as the barn fire catches hold. The sheriff shields his face from bright light, smoke, and dust. Just before the chopper lands, the fire truck pulls off the highway along the track. But the barn is blazing with Johnny inside. Exterior, deserted barn, dusk. As the sheriff is handcuffed and led away, the fire is brought under control. 2 firefighters appear from the barn holding a body. 6 months later. Exterior, Thomas's house, day. A banner stretched along the front of the house reads, Welcome home, Paul. Thomas's car pulls onto the drive. Thomas and Paul get out. Welcome home, son. You haven't made a fuss, have you? They both make their way to the front door, opening it. Opening it, there is a raucous shout of surprise. Welcome home. Interior, Thomas's living room, continuous. The room is filled with friends and family. All rush to greet Paul. Stood quietly in the corner of the room is Johnny and Auntie Helen. Johnny raises his beer bottle at Paul and winks. Welcome home, Paulie. Interior, Thomas's living room, later. The party's in full swing. Happy conversations and laughter fill the house. Bobby fiddles with the television. Hush, everyone, it's coming on. The people gather to view the television. Exterior courthouse day on TV. Our favorite TV reporter is back on the steps of the county courthouse. Hundreds gather, held back by police. Journalists and reporters jostle for position. After a long trial, the verdict has just been announced. Former Sheriff Amos Brody has been found guilty on all 15 charges against him. Drug importation, drug distribution, extortion, blackmail, and attempted murder of the firefighter Johnny Saxton. The list is endless. In summing up, the judge said Amos Brody abused his position as a law enforcement officer and should prepare himself for a lengthy custodial sentence. The arsonist has been responsible for smoking out the sheriff's activities, has never been identified, and hundreds of convictions for minor drug offenses will be re-examined. That is a mouthful, but it is good info for the story. We drift from the television scene back into Thomas's living room. It's a scene of quiet elation. Interior prison cell day. An empty prison cell, its door open. Amos Brody is shown to his new home by a prison guard. He stands at the door holding his new belongings, bed sheets, clothing, etc. He looks so different from the last time we saw him. Stripped of everything. Thinner, older, worn. In you go, Brody. If I were you, I'd grow eyes in the back of my head. Brody cringes when the cell door slams. He looks around the tiny room at the toilet, sink, and bed. Turning to look at the wall at the end of his bed, thousands of ball prints merge into one dirty stain. The end. Excellent work. Wow. Genuinely great stuff. John Boy, I love this. This rules. I really only have like one key note, which would be make Firefighter 1. I think we can go deeper with this character of who this person is and characterizing them earlier in the story so that when we do get to this bar conversation, it's going to feel stronger because we will be interested in this character. So that's really the only big picture note I have for you. I love this expression of the idea. This rules. We are 2 for 2. These are very strong. Yusuf says, hey, can you read mine? It's my second short film. Did you submit it to me, sir? Wow. Okay, John Boy, this is awesome. Can I read I just read your email. I know you're in the Discord right now. Is it cool if I read your email on stream? I really like what you wrote here. This is great, man. Like, this is a ton of fun. I think it's very visual, very emotional, very strong. Well, either way. Oh, I know you said you can't contribute while we're on. But anyways, awesome to have you here, John. This is an excellent script. I know I gave you some grief for some of your British words, which I think also because you are writing in such a naturally British voice, you could probably keep Britishifying this, right? Like your version would be the most British iteration of this. So like, if there's more fun ways you could describe like firefighter and sheriff to be more contextually UK, contextually British, then do so. Because I think, you should not run from the feeling that your scripts are very British. And I don't think you're going to get away from them, because then you use a lot of fun British words in your writing. So thank you for putting in the extra effort here to submit this script. All right. Now for Anuman's screenplay. JC says firefighters still use pagers because pagers can function even in hazardous locations. Okay, that makes sense. Sure. John, you like the justice at the end? All right. Anuman, my Indian brother. He is not here. He specifically said he was going to be sleeping when we went live today, so he will be watching the recording, which you can always watch at youtube.com/TylerMowery/live, or just click the live tab on the YouTube channel. All right, Anuman. Let's do it. The Smog I Hide, written by Anuman. Over the past 2 weeks, the increasing amount of arson cases targeting secluded buildings, that town sheriff Patrick says that this is the work of a single man. It is yet to be understood why the man is doing this. Now the sheriff says that he is working hard to bring justice, but that remains to be. The voice crackles. Silence. The title comes in. The Smog I Hide. Fade 2. Interior sheriff's cabin, police station, afternoon. You know, I believe it was my mistake. Patty, 39, male, sits in Patrick's 55, male, the sheriff cabin in front of him. Patrick is sipping a Coca-Cola while Patty sits almost remorsefully, but with a little smile on his face. I just went with the wind, wherever it took me. Never cared for looking back at things and thinking if I was actually doing right. You know, people have been doing this for decades and have been fine. I wonder what wrong could even happen to me. It's always been like that. It doesn't work all the time, but that's how it is. That's how you gotta live with it. Is it fair? If it doesn't work for me, then it shouldn't work for the other people too, right? It mostly doesn't. There are some exceptions which get highlighted, and you think that it should work always. Right. It feels a little funny, but I was so wrong. I used to feel bad about my wife's death. For some time, I used to. Now I've gotten over it. Hey man, don't take it hard on you. I think you got some guilt. Your wife died of drug overdose, not because of you. Why is it not me? I was her husband. Was it not my duty to take care of her and note such things? All I thought was that things were fine. They got rough in between, but were fine enough to get us going. They would improve. They never did. Patrick puts the Coca-Cola down. You should take some rest. Your wife is already dead. There's no case, no complaint. Patrick, I realize that, like you, I've just gotten used to the chains I'm in. I'm in no chains. Yeah, there's a difference. One man got used to this and thought this was for good. The other twisted it and used it, but it wasn't fair. Have you not failed? It was never fair, Patrick, and you should have known that being a servant of the public. Look, you're not well. You should get some rest. Mike, sit him at the bench. Get this gentleman some water. And don't mind me, please, but Tom was her ex? Patty stares at Patrick. Ex-boyfriend. She then married me later. I should sit outside then. Exterior, the police station, 2 days ago afternoon. Tom, 38, male, the police undersheriff, a 5.5-foot man with his hair already half white. He wears a tribal checkered brown-red colored scarf around his neck. He passes by a table. He stops, travels backwards, and puts the scarf on the table. The table has a nameplate of his name. Tom enters the sheriff's cabin. Interior sheriff's cabin, the police station, continuous. Tom sees a fat man, Patrick, 55 male. The sheriff, sitting at his desk, curved ahead, hands on the table, holding each other just behind a cup of coffee. Patrick's eyes look eagerly at Tom. Tom, you okay these days? Tom salutes. Sir. Patrick nods. I'm fit and fine. Patrick doesn't say anything for a moment. He just nods. Tom, you heard about those serial arsons, right? So, Anuman. Your characters are sitting in a room talking in dialogue, and that's all they're doing. Too much. Which is why when you're saying, hey, I submitted, but I also made major changes, then okay, I get some of that. Some of that is necessary. Obviously, these two scripts are very different from each other. But you need to not have the story be 2 to 3 characters talking about other events in a room, because that is I guess what people might call on the nose writing, or it's just inactive writing, right? It is telling, not showing, right? When characters are sitting talking about other events, a lot of times we need to be watching the events that they're talking about happen. So right now they're kind of asking about how everybody is and this sort of thing. You know, what about these arsons and stuff, rather than setting up this character, the arsonist, rather than seeing an initial burning. We're kind of doing it this way. But let's continue. Sure did. I do think that the guy's been smoking off drug storage areas due to some feud among gangs. Different gangs do certainly want their share of the drug market. Yes, but you can't shrug off the fact that the stuff he burnt was very expensive. It could drown you in money. I don't think that is wise to burn it down like that. I mean, he could have just taken it up and stole it and sold it himself, but he burnt it instead. Tom, you got a point there, but we really don't have much time to do anything. I'm getting calls after calls. My wife's been worried about me too much. We just need to get that guy as soon as possible. It'll be good reputation for our district. If I get my way, it'll be good reputation for any district, especially ours. And look, you need to inform me before doing anything serious. I need to handle some things on my own. The media, I guess. The media is too hell-bent on downplaying our work. They just make Netflix documentaries on the drug cartel. And the worst part is that, see, this is telling, not showing. Exactly, that's how they made a world out of it. That's how they're printing Green Washingtons. They've turned it into weed deep down. We've got to burn the weed. So my boy, get back on work. Tom salutes. Sir. Cut 2. Interior police station. Later, Tom sits at his desk. His legs are on the table and he sits too comfortably. His eyes move around as if contemplating. Tom gets back in proper conduct. His legs down, hands on the table, back straight against the chair. He pulls his phone from his pocket and dials a number. The phone rings. The ringing stops. Hello? Hello. Tom? Yeah, it's me. What do you want now? I don't mean anything wrong. It's purely professional work. That's better. You've heard of those serial arsons, right? Yeah, I've been to more than half of them. That's great. What I was thinking was that you could help in something. We could work together. We? You and me? No, I mean your firefighting department and our police department should work together on this thing. It'll help us do our work better. Okay, and so they're doing this on a phone call. So now we have a scene where an actual decision is happening. Let's team up these two organizations. These are the two characters that are making that decision. This is happening in real time. So they're talking about an event that is happening where they're at, but they're on the phone, right? But it's much more interesting to give them a place where they're meeting. Right? If we're going to make this town feel like a real place, then you have to make the real place of where the police chief and the chief firefighter meet to organize something, right? Like it's a diner or it's a restaurant or it's a other kind of meeting place, right? And that makes the world feel like real and alive. But if you do it like through a phone call, well, that's not cinematic. And that's another reason I like screenplays and screenwriting really like more than any other writing medium to tell a story in. Is it's interesting and important to think about the most cinematic way you would describe an idea. Phone calls are not as cinematic as giving characters a specific location where they have to meet up at. That also is what makes your story feel bigger, because if you have your police chief and your firefighter chief meet up at a diner, well, now you can have 6 side characters plus 15 extras built into the background of that, right? You know, because you can have a waiter and you can have somebody else they know at the diner, and you can have a cook. Like, you can do all these little minor characters we only see once or twice, and 15 people also at other booths that are just extras. And it's like, oh, that would be a lot if I wanted to make the short. It's like, yes, but don't think about that right now. Write it into the script, and then it makes your story world feel bigger and more cinematic than it being a phone call. But let's continue, because there is a decision being made in the scene, right? Let's work together, yes or no. How is that a work together? That's just you getting better and we being side notes. Tom pauses. Fuck you. Tom puts the phone down. All the other officers look at Tom. Take it easy, Tom. Of course. Patrick enters from his cabin. He looks at an angry Tom. Give me the number. I'll talk. Exterior, Patty's house, 2 weeks ago. Tom rushes inside the door. He looks ahead. From the hallway, he sees a devastated Patty sitting on the floor against the wall. His eyes aren't moving at any sight. Tom rushes to him. He looks around, confused. Tom sits down on his knees. Hey, Patty, where's Jenny? Patty doesn't respond. He looks away. Tom holds his face and forces him to look ahead. Where's Jenny? Patty gets up suddenly. Go see her yourself. Upstairs, she lies dead. What? Tom falls back. He is startled. She's covered in all that unholy white shit. Patty falls down. He starts crying. The camera persists at the shot as no movement occurs. Cut to interior fire department 2 days ago. A bell rings. An alarm lights up red. The bell grows louder. Patty sits on the bench. He slowly moves his head towards the bell. He looks at it indifferently. It suddenly snaps on him. He realizes the chaos. He looks around. Everyone is rushing, wearing the uniform and going down. Patty gets his uniform too and wears it hastily. He goes down by the stairs. Exterior fire department continuous. Patty gets out of the building. Fire trucks have been stationed. Other firefighters are getting on each fire truck. Patty looks around for a place. He finds a fire truck with just a single man. He gets on. More people get on. All the trucks start moving. Some firefighters talk on the radio, but indistinctly. Exterior road a few moments later. Patty is sitting inside a fire truck. He looks outside the window. His phone rings. He checks it. It shows Tom. Patty rejects the call. He puts it back. Exterior burning house later. Patty gets down. A small house burning completely in flames except the southwestern part of it. Southwestern specifically. The fire slowly devours everything. The fire lights up the faces of the firefighters. The firefighters take out their hoses. One man on each fire truck rotates the knobs. 2 firemen hold the hoses on their shoulders with both hands. The water gushes out of the hose. They direct it at the house. One hose is directed towards the entrance gate. You could also, Patty and firefighter 1 take fire extinguishers with them and rush inside the house. Interior burning house continuous. Awesome, Yusuf. I do see your screenplay. We can read it. They get inside. The walls are black. The ceiling paint is coming off, and a single carpet in a nearby room is burnt in half. Patty and firefighter 1 see stairs in front of them. They rush to it and go up. They see 2 paths in front of them, flames in both. The 2 use their extinguisher to extinguish each side simultaneously. Patty goes to the right. Firefighter 1 goes to the left. Patty runs ahead. He sees a few small flames and clamps them with his boots. Patty sees a closed room. He opens the door. He sees a young man lying on the ground unconscious. Patty falls down next to him, on his knees. He shakes him. He tries to press his chest. After a few tries, young man wakes up. He coughs a little. Patty tries to comfort him. Young man sits up. Hey, I got a civilian. He's fine. Bring a stretcher and call the police if you haven't already, fuckers. That's awesome. Young man is astonished. He gets scared. He moves back and sits against the wall. Patty, confused, gets near him. What happened? Don't worry. It's just me. You'll be fine. We're bringing a stretcher. You'll be fine. Please don't call the police. Why? What happened? That undersheriff. This is a great word. Use deputy, though. That Tom guy, he put this place on fire. Patty's eyes grow wider and face grows stone dead. He lets out a sigh. Smash cut 2, interior fire department later. Patty sits on the bench, indifferently to the outside world. He hears footsteps, slowly increasing in volume. Sharp. Patty looks right. He sees Tom walking towards him through the blue-tinted hallway, lit with a few bulbs. Patty, I called you. You didn't pick up. You expected I would? Look, this is very professional. All I want to do is you found no one else, just me? Look, I know you best. I want your help. Tom pauses. Yeah, there's also only like 2 characters in this story. Is Patrick also Patty? I think Patrick is Patty. I think Patrick and Patty are being used interchangeably here. Yeah, okay. So also use Anuman. You need more characters. Your stories are too focused on 2 characters speaking to each other multiple times. Tom and Patty speak to each other too much. And that's okay. You just need to bring forward some of your other characters that are less specific. Right? So when you have characters like Young Man, you can make this character more specific and then add that soul, that character embodiment, that viewpoint into more areas of the story, into more scenes, right? So that instead of having scenes where it's just 2 people talking to each other in a room where it's just them, you're broadening the scope of the story. Right? You're broadening the story world. You're making it feel more cinematic. Okay, let's talk somewhere else. Why? Scared of getting caught. You lit those fires, right? Tom stays silent. Let's not have the wrong impression in front of everyone. Let's have a private... Look, Tom, you're a policeman, and you yourself are committing such crimes. What are you even investigating then? Huh? Are you an idiot? Fuck it. Tom turns around and walks back. He stops in the middle. He turns around again. He walks back to Patty and takes out a pouch from his back pocket. He hands it over to Patty in his hands forcefully. The pouch is transparent with some white material filled in small quantity. This is what Jenny smoked up back then. When you're back sober, call me. Tom walks back. Patty looks at him in disgust. Fade out. Interior, Patty's house later. Patty stands in front of the window. It's raining outside. The rain wets the window, almost making the outside view incomprehensible. Patty looks at it with a poker face. The call rings. The ring is still heard. Rings again. Is still heard. No. Yeah. You want to... It rings again. Call rings again, rather than is still. Super minor note, but it's good for your grammar. Is still heard. This is your active thing. This is performing an action. Or the call is performing an action. The pouch with drugs is put on the table. The call connects. Hey, you sober now? What did you want to say? You saved a boy there at the house? Yeah, he used to sell drugs to Jenny. Patty pulls the phone down from his ear. He moves around, shaking himself. Anxious, tired. He pulls it back to his ears. So that shithead? Yes. Patty takes another pause. So you did burn all those houses, right? Tom sighs. There weren't anyone living there. They were purely hideouts. Hideouts used by gangs to store their drugs. You did that as a policeman? I am a policeman. I work inside the system, but if I cannot do my work still and have to resort to being a vigilante, there must be some reason, right? I never thought I'd have to hear that from you. That's a pity. I've worked as an officer for quite some time now. There ain't a place for me. It never worked the way it was supposed to. What's your reason? Are you alone? Yes, why? Do you know the sheriff, Patrick? That fatty? Oh, so these are different characters? Patrick and Patty? Okay, well, that's good. That's actually good. Okay. But don't call them Patrick and Patty because then I get confused. These names need to be more clearly different. And all of these names are pretty basic. Like you can have more fun with the character descriptions, right? Make each character more vibrant. But I'm liking this one on Schumann, especially compared to last times. I think this one is a lot clearer. But keep an eye on scenes where characters are talking about other events. We want to watch events. We don't want to watch characters talking about other events unless those characters are trying to make a choice in that present moment and using those other events as part of their argument on what to do. But we need to be in a room of conflict. We need to be in a point where a specific thing is happening, not characters talking about decision points. We need to be in the room. We can't be talking about the room. Yes, that boy you caught, he was jailed back then. I caught him with drugs. That sheriff let him out. He did what? That boy then did a deal with Jenny, the last one. I saw him. Patty lets the phone linger in his hand as his hand dangles down. Patty looks at the pouch. He holds it in his hands. Then he throws it away. Fuck you, Patrick. He pauses, then puts the phone back on his ear. Should I trust you? You were nothing but an ex-boyfriend. At least I was. I cared for her all the time. Even after... No, even... I get it. Now what do you need my help for? To catch the sheriff. There are courts for that. You can file a case, get evidence, and put your shit together. This is good on Schumann. That's how it's supposed to go. You know, we're trying to do this. Now a decision is being made, right? I want us to do this. Now we're in a choice. That is never going to work. You don't trust the company you work in? It's not a company, and it's a rot. I won't get anything out for years to go. That fatty will also get some favors out. The gangs can target me and possibly you. I was doomed, from the beginning? Patty, please help me. That fatty will just sit on that comfy chair for eternities to come and never give a shit about anything till he can drown in money. Please. Patty doesn't respond. For Jenny, at least. Patty looks up. He looks at the pouch. It is lying in front of a table with Jenny and Patty's wedding photo. Go on. What do you got? Thank you very much. Smash cut 2. Interior Patrick's house. Present. Tom is standing on the sofa in the living room. The house is a mess. Everything on top of everything. Almost looking like a dumpster. Tom, meanwhile, stands focused. Scratches his head. Look, Patty, I know that fatty has some narcotics in his house. Hidden somewhere. I saw some policemen put it in there. Tom jumps back down. He looks around. He goes towards the TV. He puts it out and puts it on the sofa. The wall is... man. I gotta take a break. Yeah, Wormy says, it is difficult to follow that much dialogue with no visual cues. Yes, that's correct. Because when you're talking too much and you're not actually in the room, in the physical space room of the scene, you start to lose the cinematic nature of it. Because then it's like, what are we putting a camera on, right? It can't just be words on the page. Like, you are writing words on the page, but that's not what you're symbolizing. You're writing a blueprint for a movie scene. So like in a novel, the words still should be creating a visual image in your head. So I think sometimes it's like, oh no, I can be lazy in a novel. No, a novel is still creating a visual mental image. So you still don't want to have scenes where characters in a point of no conflict or no decision in no desire in that scene, no want in that scene that then creates the decision. If there is no want and they're just talking about events that have happened, that's not cinematic. Who's the fatty? Is Patty the fatty? I believe the sheriff is the fatty. Yeah, Wormy, with the whole stretchers thing, I think that's kind of nitpicky. I think, sure, there's always the, is that really how somebody would use a gun sort of thing that you're like, you'll hear people be like, oh, well, I really use guns. And so when I see like people use guns in a weird way in movies, like blah, blah, blah. It's like, I get that to a certain point, but you fix that later. First, I'm just trying to see if this is functional. Are we seeing decisions in scenes? Are we seeing characters that are very distinct from one another, right? And I think that's what we're seeing here, right? Captain Marsden is vibrationally deeper in part of his name, in part of how he's introduced. Some of these other characters, I think that's kind of what you want to be looking for, is looking for a certain level of specificity. Specificity is what's bringing out. And I think these two scripts here, I think you both did a solid job of that, right? Sheriff Amos Brody, right? These sorts of things. But again, Anuman, I'm liking this one. I think this is a good direction. What I would change so far is a lot of the beginning, right? In the beginning, when you're starting out on your scripts, okay, you're starting out with like characters sitting and talking in rooms, talking about important events. But in the beginning, this is where you need to be setting up the important starter events for the story, right? Like this is your setup, okay? You need just some basic time to be like, here's key events that have happened that are giving us that setup. You don't want to give the audience the setup in a situation where characters are just talking about that in a room. You show the actual event happening. I think I've hammered that enough. Let's read to the end. Tom jumps back down. He looks around. He goes towards the TV. He pulls it out. Did we read this? He pulls it out and puts it on the sofa. The wall is clean. Tom tries grazing his hand over the wall. He finds no edges, nothing. He always takes a round in the noon, but that's the only time I get when I catch his stuff. It's the only time I can come. I take some rounds at the opposite side of the town this time. Just hold him there to station, please. He looks on behind the TV, finds no corners, no secret boxes, nothing. Clean. Tom is bewildered. Can you guarantee that there's stuff there? I'd bet anything. He goes towards the kitchen. There are a lot of drawers opened up already. Some are dangling like dolls outside. Tom is confused. He looks all around. His hands are trying to reach for a drawer not touched yet, but hesitate each time. They don't find one such. Tom, infuriated, tries to slightly pull his hair. Shit. Interior police station continuous. Patty sits at the bench. He looks around. Suddenly, Patrick comes out of his cabin. He wears his hat and goes out. I'll be back after a round. Sure. Patty acts to ignore it, looking down at the ground. He then takes out his phone. He calls while he gets up and goes out of the police station. The ring is heard. The phone rings. The phone rings is the right way to say this. The phone rings. Subject, verb. The phone rings. He stands next to the parking lot. The call connects. Intercut Patrick, Patty, and Tom. You got all three of them? We're on a conference call, baby. See, it's like this should be... It's like, how can they meet up in person? It's more cinematic if you can find a way for them to meet up in person. I don't want to intercut three people talking. It's just not cinematic. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. You got it? That fatty's hidden it somewhere safe. I can't seem to get it. Patrick starts the Jeep. The sound blares. You said it would be there. It is somewhere here only. I just don't know. When did you see those policemen? Where? The Jeep goes ahead. Yesterday evening, before you went for the fire. Are you sure that he hasn't put them somewhere else yet? He won't. Everywhere he puts, I light it. He knows that. The Jeep passes away in the distance. Try faster. Devil's on the road. Shit. We're almost done. Here we go. Climax. Interior Patrick's house continuous. Tom looks up and sees the fans lingering from the hole in the ceiling. He shoots at a fan. It falls down. Tom pulls a curtain rod. The curtain falls. He pushes the rod in the hole for fan. Dust drops. Tom pushes it again and again. Nothing happens. Tom goes inside the bathroom. He looks at the textiles. He rubs his hand hard against the tile, but none move. He hits them. Tom finally sits down on the sofa. The house is a proper dumpster at this point. Everything spread over all the possible area given. Tom's phone rings. He picks it up. It shows Patty. Huh? How far would Fatty be now? It won't take time, I believe. Man, I couldn't find anything. I'm not sure what's going on right now, Anuman. Are you sure it's there? Yes. Then I have a plan. What? I'll file an arson case, an arson on Patrick's house, but I need evidence for that. Would you work on that? Are you serious? Do it soon. The fatty will come. I don't know why you have to call him the fatty every single time. I think you're doing that. This is overkill. Like, it's kind of funny, but also it makes it feel dumber over a certain point. So I would change that. And also, when you say that, I don't know who you're talking about clearly. And also, you have Patrick, Patty, and Fatty. So it's like, nothing is clear. Like, your names are not separate enough for me to divide those characters in my mind in a strong way. Does that make sense? I hope so. Smash cut to Patty's house later. Patty and Tom sit on the sofa. They have a glass of whiskey in their hands. They touch the glass. So was this... Let's go against them. So is this supposed to be your climax? Where's your climax? I don't know where it is. Anuman. I'm confused at the end here. They have glasses of whiskey. Cheers. Both drink it up and continue making for each shot. A shocking report comes as the town sheriff's house was burnt down to ashes. Okay, so again, we're telling. So bringing in this news report at the very end, we're telling again, right? It's more interesting, it's more cinematic if you give us the scene of the sheriff's house, of them like actually doing it. So it's like, okay, sure, you can make your climax a news reporter telling us this event, but let's see the scene. You can write the scene. The sheriff allegedly found the house burning when he was passing by and called the fire department. Later, burnt and some intact drugs were collected from the officer's house. The investigation is going. Voice fades away. The screen fades to black. Credits roll in. Anuman, I like this one a lot more. Really strong step in the right direction. I hope that it's clear what I'm saying about show, don't tell, right? The news reporter telling us about the sheriff's house being burnt down is telling rather than showing. It is more interesting for us to watch the people who actually did this burn it down. Thank you so much for submitting, and thank you for being so consistent on the streams these last 6 weeks. So, I really appreciate it. Okay, and then we also have another one. Cool. All right. Let's see what you've got, Yusuf. Meddling Mage says cheers on Schumann. Yes. Cheers to you, sir. All right. This one looks like it's going to be 18 pages. Laying on the Brink, Goldenrod. Written by Saeed Abdullah Yusuf. Interior Cafe Afternoon. 19th of July 2023. Two-shot, wide eye level. Two boys are sitting in a cafe. Jesse, in a black shirt, appears intelligent, sharp, and more focused on work than conversation, while his friend George, in a pink shirt, seems tentative and insecure, but still gives off a lively vibe. If you ask me, knowing all the difficulties, I think this is the best strategy you can have. Jesse took a sip from his drink and nodded. Yeah, I mean, this is amazing. Jesse nodded. Nods. Scripts are present tense. We will continue. Bro, did you hear that? Hear what? The song, the music. George took time to listen to it. Oh yeah, I've heard this somewhere. This is like my favorite song. How did they find this? Is this on my firefighter story? Okay. I don't think so, but it's all good. We can I'm chilling. We can read your story, and you donated to stream, so we can definitely read. But this is not just so that I have correct expectation here. This is not another iteration of our main idea. This is going to be a new thing. So, just to kind of wrap up what we've been doing. You're good. I'm sorry, sheesh. No, you're good. I'll read it. But just to wrap up this assignment, great submissions. All three of these. Thank you guys for submitting. I really enjoyed reading all of them. I hope there was some good teaching points. When I stop and kind of give feedback, I hope that's helpful. And I'm just trying to do that emotionally in the flow, because these two, I think, really worked big picture, and then I think it's more showing rather than telling here, giving us the scene, not the characters talking about that scene. So, really, really good stuff. I think that went really well this week. So yeah, next week, Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be doing this again. We will be starting from scratch with a new idea. We will start with a blank page. I will take suggestions from you all, and we will build something once again. Oh, Yusuf, you just wrote this? Because if you just wrote it, then yeah, we can take a look. Oh, you did? Okay. John Saxton sounds cooler than Johnny Saxton. Wednesdays, 4 p.m. EST. That's when we do these. And you know what? It's not a bad thing that I don't get a ton of submissions, because I couldn't sit here and read 16 screenplays. It's just not going to happen. I might read, I think 5 would probably be a max. We'll see, though. I mean, if it's I don't know. We'll have to see. But great submissions so far. Wednesdays at 4 p.m. And then, Yusuf, you wrote this a month ago. I had this idea in my mind. Okay. Yeah, let's read your script. I'm going to get some water. And yeah, we'll read it. Quick break. Yes. This is the 4 p.m. Eastern stream time. We started at 4 today. I actually don't know if this computer is right because of the time change. How long have I been streaming? Hour 45. Okay. All right. Let's read your script, Yusuf. Let's keep this show on the road. Interior, cafe. We got through this. Okay, George took time to listen to it. Oh yeah, I've heard this somewhere. This is like my favorite song. How do they find this? You're not the only one who listens to this. It's fire though. They making this a mall music now. Jesse took a burger in his mouth in a disappointing way. Jesse, gasp. I don't know. You know, I was thinking about tomorrow. Nodded. Do you think I'll be valuable there? Valuable? I mean, like, you know, pause, breath. Man, I know you get it all right. Why does every person just act like they don't understand after hearing something negative? Negative? Closes eyes, takes hand. You don't want to join? I have to go somewhere. You got a date? No, not a date. But I've got to go to a movie. Which movie? Okay. So far, not having a good time. Which movie? You know, I also think that it should be only me for this. I mean, it would be less chaotic if I get this done myself. That's what I'm saying. It's better. But which movie? George look around and notice the song is no more hearable. They stopped a song? Are you even going to a movie? Yeah, I am. Okay, we're 3 pages in, and I feel like this is just rambling. Right? So part of this is having decisions in scenes, having information being expressed in scenes, right? And this is also where the outlines, of course, come into play and why I highly recommend them. But let me do some skimming here. Barbie, are you a Swiftie, bro? No, it's not that. Okay, interior, a creative-looking therapy room. Morning, 20th of July, 2023. You had a very bad day, Aaron. A close-up of Aaron breathing, then seeing the downside. A sequence of montages starts showcasing daily life. No, this is one of my favorite sentences to read in... Oh no, I'm not showing. Sorry, guys. This is one of my favorite sentences to read in a starting script. A sequence of montages starts showcasing daily life. It's like, it's never a line that you will see in professional screenplays, but you see it in starting ones all of the time. Daily life, montage, a sequence, this line. It's all dialogue, no spice. Well, there's no decision, right? It's about having a choice in the scene. That's why my How to Write a Perfect Scene video is about having choices in the scene, right? Which path are we going? Every scene is taking the red pill or the blue pill, right? What's the red pill, blue pill of that scene? That's what creates the conflict. That's what creates the two sides of the argument, all of this. So you either have dialogue, which is every scene being on the framework of red pill, blue pill, where are all the characters on that dichotomy, or it's just rambling on the page, right? So it's one of those two things at any point. This so far has been rambling on the page. Let's continue. A creative looking third prune, you did so bad. Interior living room morning. Aaron staring at the cracks on the wall in his living room. This is riveting cinema. Exterior rickshaw auto afternoon. Aaron staring at a beggar who is using a steel pipe to walk on the road. Exterior parking with lots of meters and wires. Aaron looking for his electricity usage through the meters and staring at it. Prelude of montage end. Interior living room morning. Aaron talking with his mother. I know, I get you. I'm trying. This is, what can I do anymore? A small silence, which depicts her mother talking. No, I don't have any physical problems. I don't need that. It's different. Interior, a creative looking therapy room. It's different and it's tough. I'm bad at explaining. You do not need to be good at explaining yourself. I'm somewhat teleported into the situation where common things like a normal crack on the wall came out to be the wall exploding my whole brain. This is the entire screenplay in a single chunk of dialogue. I'm somewhat teleported into the situation where common things like a normal crack on the wall came out to be the wall exploding my whole brain. Yusuf, I think this story is very disorganized. Montage V3, montage aftermath. Creative looking therapy room. Exterior location not found yet. Your brain is sabotaging you into thinking that this is all real. Yeah, exactly. What about sabotaging your brain? Yes, Aaron, what I want you to do is upbeat music challenges. This is all fake. It's the same as meditating, but your effective way because you're in effective situations. For some time, you just need to think. This is a short about thoughts, right? It's like that that Alan Watts meme. The person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about but thoughts. Right? This is this short film. And there's a lot of this kind of writing around. Which is why I force us to get a character web and to get a main idea, and to get a sense of a starting moral dilemma, and get a sense of the movement of the thing through scenes, so that it is cinematic, so that it's filmable. Because films about thoughts are very rarely interesting and essentially never interesting. Because even if they are about thoughts, the movie is still externalizing those thoughts so that the film is interesting. Like if you look at The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, that film is about thoughts and memory and flashbacks and all this stuff, but it is still embodying those in actual scenes with actual characters that you can put a camera on. And so that's how you have to write cinematically. And a person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about but thoughts. And then you create an unfilmable script. All right. Well, I'm pretty sure that is like more or less the 2-hour mark-ish. It needs conflict. There's none. Correct. And conflict is bred through a decision point. A desire, character. Morpheus wants Neo to make a choice. That's a great formula to just think about. One character wants another character to make a choice. It's like, okay, and then there's so many ways you can angle that idea. People talk about like exceptions, and they're like, what about this? What about this? What about this choice? What about this? Like, you can angle and look at decisions in different ways, but like you need to know the basic building block of scene structure is there's a decision being made, because that creates tension and that makes it so that characters are debating about a choice, which is what dialogue is. Dialogue is a debate about a choice. Dialogue is not just you can use dialogue to exposition dump, but you exposition dump in an effective way when that exposition is used as an emotional weapon, right? The words are emotionally charged because they're giving their argument about what needs to be done or why their point of view is correct. And because of that, you can give all kinds of information. Because as long as it's emotional, you can also give information, right? It only feels like exposition dumping when it's characters standing and doing the, arms crossed around the map, right? That's kind of emotionless. But if it's two characters, if a character's pleading or begging or all of this, like, they are able to give information and emotion at the same time. And that's what makes it, another thing that makes it cinematic. Right? It's that visualization of a vibe. That's really what the art of showmanship is filmmaking is, that kind of stuff. And it really is incredible. Like, the people that have made films and have like done that and built all of that. I mean, it's such an incredible feat and system and all of that. Okay, I'm going to look at your book recommendation, Raynal. Super Communicators. Oh, this guy. Look at this guy. This guy in his tie. What a man. You can use these skills on anyone. Super Communicators. How to Unlock by Charles Duhigg. Super Communicators. No, just show me the page. New York Times bestseller from the author of The Power of Habit, a fascinating exploration of what makes conversations work and how we can all learn to be super communicators at work and in life. Come inside a jury room as one juror leads a starkly divided room to consensus. Yes, that's it. That's definitely about a choice. Join a young CIA officer as he recruits a reluctant foreign agent. And sit with an accomplished surgeon as he tries and fails to convince yet another cancer patient to opt for the less risky course of treatment. What a fun trio of examples. Our jury room, our CIA officer, and our surgeon and the cancer patient. What a trio. In Super Communicators, Charles Duhigg blends deep research and his trademark storytelling skills to show how we can all learn to identify and leverage the hidden layers that lurk beneath every conversation. Communication is a superpower, and the best communicators understand that whenever we speak, we're actually participating in one of three conversations. Practical, what's this really about? Emotional, how do we feel? And social, who are we? True. If you don't know what kind of conversation you're having, you're unlikely to connect. It's the Trinity. Physical, emotional, spiritual. Anyways, communication is a superpower, and the best communicators understand that whenever we speak, we're actually participating. Yes. So we can how complex emotions, subtle negotiations, and deeply held beliefs. They color so much of what we say and how we listen. With his storytelling that takes us from the writer's room of The Big Bang Theory to the couches of leading marriage counselors, Duhigg shows readers how to recognize these 3 conversations. Yeah, I don't think I'll be reading. I think I have that book, though, Power of Habit. Charles Duhigg. I think I have... It's not this one. It's his other one. This one. Smarter, Better, Faster. Yeah. What's up, Jonathan? What would you say is the number one mistake you have seen made by beginner writers? Not writing. So, okay, let me see if I can let me see, I'll list all the mistakes in order. If I can. First is not writing, and that one is a long one. And then from there, it's clinging to a first draft and not wanting to immediately rewrite it from absolute scratch. Because, like, in the sense of you outline it. Like, I think the perfect process would be you write your draft with no, like, and you kind of pants one, especially if you're going from zero and you've never written before, you kind of pants a draft. And then Yusuf says, understood, thanks, Jacob. I'm still practicing and learning the art more and more. Thanks for being honest. Yeah, so at the beginning, it's just, so first drafts are usually just incomplete in the sense of people do not create complete character webs. They do not actually know what they're trying to say thematically, and so then the decisions that are made by characters in their story are muddy, or they don't have decisions in that first draft. But a lot of it's just character web and character web concept structure. It's very simple. It's just those end up being messy in the beginning. You don't have a complete character web, or you have too many characters, which rarely happens, but you have too many characters, you need to focus it, or your whole story has 4 characters in it, or you don't have a midpoint, you don't have a climax. There are no choices in scenes. All of that sort of stuff. And then a lot of it too is creating something that's filmable and showing rather than telling, right? Just like on Schumann today, and just like I was looking at Yusuf's script, there can be a lack of visually describing the place we're in, right? And in a screenplay, you always need to be thinking about the actual place that this scene is happening in, right? Even if it's in somebody's mind or blah, blah, blah. It's like at some point there's going to be a floor and you're going to put a character on it, right? And so what is that space? Because that's where I'm putting my camera. And so maybe that's in the character's head, but like it needs to have a certain practicality. And that's, again, it's like, that's so valuable for your thought process because it forces you to be more visual and physical and embody the ideas you want to talk about in characters and in world symbols rather than it being characters talking about other events in rooms. Yusuf said, what do you recommend if you have time to think about this? I'm 16 right now, watching lots of films and keep learning. What do you think I should work on these types of screenplays, or do you think I should make something which helps me build my ability? I think you should like pick one of your favorite movies and write your version of a sequel or something. Like, because you need, the problem with your writing, Yusuf, is that, and I took your thing down. Can I find it again? No, okay, whatever. The problem with your writing is that you don't have it as a physical, filmable story. You're not really writing a movie yet. It's like characters just talking. So you should borrow the world and the characters and the philosophies from one of the movies that you've been watching, since you said you're watching a lot of films. And then like write your own sequel, right? Like write a fan fiction sequel or something like that. And that is going to help you see the scenes and then put decisions in those scenes, and watch my How to Write a Perfect Scene video for that. Let me pull that up. All right. I'll put this in the chat. But I'm sure most of you have seen this. If you're a loyal live stream attender, I'm assuming you've seen the How to Write a Perfect Scene video. But I think it's the best video on my channel right now. So it's this video here. How to Write a Perfect Scene. If you go to the channel itself, it is right here, the choice with our matrix blue pill, red pill. I think this is my best video. I think that would be, if I could recommend one video from the channel, it would be that one. All right. Thanks for tuning into the stream today. This has been fun. Really good scripts submitted this week. Really good scripts. We will be back next time. And we'll think of a new idea, scene to scene it out, and go again. Thanks for hopping in. See you next week.